He didn't just disrespect the judge, he challenged the entire courtroom. Leaning back, he kicked his boots onto the table and said, "This court can't touch me." The room went dead silent. Judge Judy slowly set her pen down and looked straight at the bailiff. The teen's face lost all color. At that moment, he realized it was already too late. The decision had been made, and whatever came next was completely out of his control. And when you hear the final outcome of his case, you'll be shocked. But before we jump in, tell me, where are you watching from? And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. His boots hit the courtroom table so hard the microphone shook. A few people in the gallery laughed nervously, until Judge Judy's eyes lifted, slow and razor-sharp. The smirk on the boy's face was the kind you only see right before a tornado realizes it's heading straight into a brick wall. The air tightened around Drew Mathers, 17, cocky and carved from the kind of arrogance that grows when consequences never do. He lounged back in his chair like it was a throne, arms spread, chin high, eyes daring anyone to challenge him. He didn't just enter the courtroom, he invaded it, broadcasting a message with every careless movement. "You can't control me." Eli Torres, the boy who filed the complaint, sat just a few feet away. Small for his age, shoulders curled inward, he kept his gaze fixed on the floor. The contrast between them was cinematic. Drew, a storm of swagger and noise. Eli, the quiet aftermath of it. Judge Judy set her pen down with deliberate grace. That tiny motion, silent, precise, cut through the room louder than a shout. The courtroom lights seemed to shift with her, softening everywhere except where they hit Drew, isolating him in a harsh beam. "Mr. Mathers," she said, voice poised like a blade resting on its edge, "you have exactly one opportunity to correct your posture." Drew snorted, actually snorted. "It's fine, I'm good." The bailiff, a wall of calm muscle, took a single step forward. That was all it took. Drew's eyes flicked sideways, the first crack in his confidence appearing as a brief hitch in his breath. But he recovered quickly, straightening only halfway, as if he wanted to prove he wasn't afraid, even though the tremor in his jaw said otherwise. Judge Judy didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. "Son, arrogance isn't a shield, it's a spotlight, and right now you're standing in the center of it." A murmur rippled through the gallery. Drew's mother leaned forward defensively, whispering something harsh under her breath. His father stayed still, hands clasped, eyes hollow, as though he'd seen this scene before and knew exactly where it would go. Eli flinched as Drew glanced his way, the bully's expression shifting from amused to predatory for a fraction of a second. Judge Judy caught it. She missed nothing. "That will be quite enough," she said, slicing the air with her tone. "We'll begin with the complainant." Drew rolled his eyes, but the confidence was waning. The kind of waning that starts in the stomach and works its way up. The gavel lifted. But before it fell, Drew leaned forward, whispering, "This court can't touch." He didn't finish, because Judge Judy raised one hand, and the bailiff stepped directly toward him, shadow falling across Drew's boots. And in that shadow, Drew's smirk finally broke. The gavel cracks like a lightning strike, and every head in the room jerks toward Eli. His hands tremble as he stands, small hands, uncertain hands, yet somehow carrying the weight of months of fear. Across the courtroom, Drew smirks like the show is just beginning. Eli's voice begins as a thread, thin and breakable. He wouldn't leave me alone." Judge Judy gestures gently, "Take your time." The gentleness is brief, just long enough for Eli to steady himself. The camera of the mind pushes in closer, beads of sweat on Eli's upper lip, fingers gripping the statement he prepared, the paper already softening at the edges from how many times he's folded and unfolded it. His mother sits behind him, jaw locked, eyes bright with equal parts pride and pain. Eli continues, "It started with comments, then shoving, then videos." Drew scoffs audibly. Judge Judy snaps her eyes toward him. "Mr. Mathers, make one more sound and you'll finish this hearing in the hallway." The gallery hums with whispers. Drew leans back, boots off the table now, posture stiffening. He didn't expect the room to tilt away from him so quickly. Eli's mother rises. "Your Honor, my son tried to handle this alone. He begged us not to come forward because he thought it would get worse." The line hangs heavy. Drew's smirk dims. Then Eli's mother adds a single sentence that changes the room's oxygen. "And he has the videos to prove it." A ripple of shock sweeps the gallery. Drew's eyebrows jump. His mother stiffens. Judge Judy adjusts her glasses, interest sharpening. "Videos." Eli nods. He-fi. El made it himself. He posted clips online. People at school saw them before I did. Drew's mother bursts out. "Kids record everything these days. That doesn't mean it's." "Sit," Judge Judy orders, without even looking at her. The bailiff collects a USB drive from Eli's mother. As he walks it to the judge, the room is silent except for the soft scrape of his shoes on the tile. Drew's throat bobs as he swallows. For the first time, that earlier bravado seems too large, too heavy for him to carry. Judge Judy plugs in the drive. The monitor on her bench flickers to life with a faint buzz. "Mr. Torres," she says to Eli, "is this the first incident or the most recent?" Eli's voice tightens. "Just the one he made public." Judge Judy nods. "Very well, we'll review it." The screen brightens. And just as the first frame appears, Drew leans forward, eyes widening, jaw clenching, because he suddenly remembers exactly which video this is. And exactly how bad it looks. The monitor glows, washing the courtroom in a cold blue light. Then the first sound hits. Drew's laughter, echoing down a school hallway like metal slammed against metal. Even the bailiff shifts his weight, bracing. The video begins with a shaky, self-recorded frame, Drew holding the phone low, angled upward, capturing himself strutting down a corridor. Lockers stretch behind him, fluorescent lights humming. He flashes a grin into the camera, swagger dripping off him like oil. "Watch this," Video Drew says, voice full of the kind of confidence that knows no leash, no barrier, no consequences. The camera jerks as he swings it toward Eli, who's standing by a locker clutching binders to his chest. "Come on, Eli," Drew taunts from the speakers. "Say something for the fans." The courtroom hears a soft, terrified "No, please stop." Several people in the gallery gasp. Judge Judy's eyebrows rise, just a millimeter, but it's enough to signal that the atmosphere has fundamentally shifted. On the screen, Drew shoves Eli's shoulder. The camera shakes. Eli hits the locker with a dull thud. Drew laughs harder. "This is what I deal with every day," Eli whispers in real time at the plaintiff's table, barely audible. His mother reaches for his shoulder, failing to hold back tears. Drew's mother immediately interjects. "This is out of context, boys' roughhouse." Judge Judy slices her hand through the air without looking at her. Not another word. The footage continues. Video Drew leans into the camera, sneering. "Nobody can touch me. Not the teachers, not the principal, not him." He gestures toward Eli like he's pointing at a piece of discarded trash. A murmur ripples across the courtroom. Drew's father closes his eyes, jaw trembling. His mother's face cracks with panicked disbelief as though she's seeing her son for the first time. Real-life Drew sits perfectly still, but every muscle in him is coiled and rigid. His face flushes red, then pale, then red again. He can't blink. He can't breathe. His own voice, amplified, is exposing him more brutally than any witness could. Judge Judy leans back slightly, an almost imperceptible shift. The look she gets when she's rearranging the puzzle pieces of a case and realizing the picture is far uglier than described. The video ends abruptly with Drew laughing into the lens, the sound distorted, menacing. Silence follows, heavy, suffocating. The courtroom seems colder, as if the air conditioning kicked on the moment the truth hit the room. Judge Judy folds her hands. Mr. Torres, she says, you mentioned this was not the worst of the videos. Eli nods. Yes, Your Honor. Judge Judy turns to the bailiff. Load the next clip. Drew's head snaps toward her, because he knows exactly which recording comes next, and it's the one he prayed would never surface. Gasps ripple through the room the moment the second clip opens with Drew's low whisper. I dare any teacher to try me. This isn't swagger anymore. It's a threat wrapped in teenage bravado. The screen flickers, revealing a dimly lit classroom after hours. Desks stand in uneven rows like abandoned soldiers. Drew holds the phone again, but this time his tone is different, darker, heavier, fueled by a dangerous mix of adrenaline and entitlement. A shadow crosses the camera as he steps closer to the whiteboard. Watch this, Video Drew mutters. He uncaps a marker and scrawls across the board. No one can stop me. Then he draws a crude caricature of a teacher with X's for eyes. The gallery reacts with a stunned hush. Someone in the back whispers, "Oh my God." Video Drew flips the camera around, pointing it at himself. His grin is feral. If the school wants a problem, I'll give them one. Real-life Drew shifts in his chair, trying not to flinch as his own recorded arrogance detonates in front of him. His knee bounces uncontrollably beneath the table. His mother, frozen, mouths the word no under her breath as though denying the reality could undo it. His father stares downward, shame carving deep lines into his forehead. This was after hours. Judge Judy asks, voice deceptively calm. Yes, Your Honor, Eli says softly. He broke in. Drew's mother shoots up from her seat. He did not break in. The school leaves doors open sometimes. He was just being silly. Judge Judy turns her head just enough for her gaze to land on her. Ma'am, sit, before you embarrass yourself further. The room tightens around that sentence. Drew's mother sinks back down, cheeks flushing crimson. The video shifts again. Now Drew stands beside a supply cabinet, tugging it open with force. Papers spill out like scattered feathers. He laughs, sweeping a stack of graded assignments onto the floor. This is your test, Mrs. Carter, Video Drew shouts mockingly. Fail this. Eli's breath catches. Judge Judy notices immediately. You recognize this, Mr. Torres? Yes, Eli whispers. This was the same week he pushed me into the lockers. The implication hits the room like a slow-moving quake. The bullying wasn't random. It was part of an escalating pattern. Then comes the part no one expects. Video Drew turns the camera back on himself and mutters almost proudly, "Doesn't matter what I do. My mom will fix it." The oxygen drains out of the gallery. Drew's mother's face contorts, shock, denial, panic, all crashing together. Judge Judy leans forward slightly. Interesting. She reaches for the remote and pauses the frame on Drew's smirking face. The perfect portrait of arrogance unrestrained. Mr. Mathers, she says, voice low and dangerous, we have a much bigger problem here. Drew's throat tightens. Judge Judy slides a sealed letter across the bench, one the parents clearly didn't expect anyone to have. And Drew's mother pales, because she recognizes it instantly. The moment Judge Judy places that sealed letter on the bench, Drew's mother stops breathing. Her fingers clutch the table so tightly her knuckles turn white. Whatever she thought she could control just slipped out of reach. Judge Judy taps the envelope once with her pen. Your signature is on this, ma'am. I assume you recognize it. Drew's mother swallows hard, eyes darting between the letter and the gallery as if searching for an exit. Your Honor, that document is private. It became public, Judge Judy replies coolly, when it became evidence of obstruction. A low murmur ripples across the room. Drew's father shifts forward, elbows on his knees, shoulders sagging in defeat. His voice is quiet, strained. I told you this would come back, Karen. She snaps, not now. Judge Judy arches a brow. On the contrary, ma'am, Now is exactly when accountability arrives. She opens the envelope slowly, deliberately, the kind of slow that makes a courtroom hold its collective breath. She withdraws a typed letter addressed to the school board, signed by Drew's mother. The words on the page are filled with threats, accusations, and ultimatums. If you file another disciplinary report against my son, we will pursue immediate legal action for harassment. Any further mention of aggression issues will be treated as defamation. The temperature in the room seems to drop. Eli's mother covers her mouth, stunned. Even the bailiff shifts his stance subtly, his version of disbelief. Drew's mother tries to recover. Your Honor, I was protecting my child. The school was targeting him. They exaggerated everything. Judge Judy fixes her with a stare sharper than a blade. Ma'am, the school tried to intervene. You prevented it. And now we're here cleaning up the mess of a child who learned he could act without consequence because his parents bulldozed anyone who tried to correct him. Drew shrinks, shoulders folding inward. For the first time, the swagger dissolves completely. His eyes flick to Eli, then away, ashamed. His father rubs a hand over his face. I begged you to stop writing letters, to stop threatening people. He needed discipline, not protection from it. Karen shoots him a venomous glare. So now you're taking sides with them. No, he says, voice cracking. I'm taking sides with reality. Judge Judy's gaze shifts to Drew. Son, the adults around you may have failed to hold you accountable, but I will, and we haven't even brought in the next witness. Drew stiffens, witness. His mother pales. Your Honor, who else is involved? Judge Judy's lips press into a thin, resolute line. Someone who has watched your son's behavior escalate for months. Someone whose warnings were silenced. The side door creaks. A woman steps in, shoulders tense, eyes full of guilt. And Drew's face drains of color as he recognizes her. Ms. Carter, his teacher. The side door closes behind her with a soft click that sounds louder than the gavel. Ms. Carter steps forward like someone walking into a storm she helped create. Drew's eyes widen, not with arrogance this time, but with something dangerously close to fear. She approaches the witness. Stand, hands clasped so tightly they tremble. Her posture is stiff, shoulders drawn up as if bracing for impact. She avoids Drew's gaze completely, focusing on Judge Judy instead. Judge Judy's tone gentles by an inch. Ms. Carter, you understand why you're here. Yes, Your Honor, she whispers, and I'm sorry. The apology ripples across the courtroom. Drew flinches. His mother stiffens, prepared to erupt at the slightest provocation. Judge Judy nods for the bailiff to swear her in. The moment the oath ends, the judge leans forward slightly. Start wherever the truth begins. Ms. Carter inhales shakily. I reported Drew 3 times, incidents of aggression, threats, inappropriate behavior, but each time I received emails, phone calls. Her eyes shift toward Karen, Drew's mother. Threats of legal action, accusations that I was targeting her son. Karen's jaw drops. That is a lie. It is not, Ms. Carter says, finally meeting her gaze, voice cracking but firm. You told me you'd make sure I never taught again if I submitted another disciplinary notice. The gallery erupts in gasps. Judge Judy raises one hand and silence returns instantly. Drew looks between the 2 women, confusion twisting with guilt. He hadn't known the full scope. He hadn't known the adults went to war behind the scenes over him. Ms. Carter continues, I was afraid. I shouldn't have been, but I was new. I didn't want to lose my job. Her voice wavers. And because I stayed quiet, Eli suffered. Others suffered. Eli's mother wipes tears from her cheeks. Judge Judy's gaze sharpens. Do you have documentation? Ms. Carter nods quickly, producing a small binder. Times, dates, descriptions, copies of the original incident reports, and the emails I received afterward. When the binder hits the bench, It lands with the weight of months of silence breaking open. Drew's father buries his face in his hands. Corinne's expression crumples into something brittle and furious, but behind it, unmistakable panic. Judge Judy flips through the pages with clinical precision. "Ma'am, your interference didn't just obstruct discipline, it endangered students." Ms. Carter's voice cracks. "I know, and I'm here to make it right." Drew stares at her, the closest thing to remorse beginning to take shape in his features. It looks foreign on him, like a language he's never spoken. Judge Judy closes the binder softly. "Thank you. Your testimony changes the trajectory of this case." Ms. Carter nods and steps back, trembling. Then Judge Judy turns to Drew, directly, piercingly. "Mr. Mathers," she says, "I'm giving you the opportunity to explain your pattern of intimidation." Drew swallows, throat tight. But before he can speak, the courtroom door knocks again. And everyone turns as a new figure prepares to enter, carrying information that could shatter whatever defenses Drew has left. The door hasn't even finished opening when Drew's breath stutters. For the first time today, he doesn't reach for arrogance or sarcasm or noise. He just freezes. The figure entering is a man in plain clothes, holding a thin folder. Judge Judy acknowledges him with a small nod, the kind reserved for someone she personally asked to be here. Drew watches every step he takes, spine rigid, jaw flexing. But the man does not approach the bench. He hands the folder to the bailiff, then takes a seat along the wall, silent, watchful. Judge Judy turns her gaze back to Drew. "Now, as I was saying, your opportunity to explain yourself." Drew opens his mouth, but nothing comes out. His throat moves, no sound follows. Corinne leans toward him. "Just tell her they're lying." "Ma'am," Judge Judy snaps, "your son doesn't need another script. He needs honesty." That lands hard. Drew grips the edge of the table as though it might anchor him. I wasn't trying to. It wasn't like they said." Judge Judy's stare holds steady. "Then how was it?" Silence stretches. Drew's face tightens, frustration fighting fear. But beneath all of it, something raw, something unsteady, something human finally surfaces. "I didn't think it mattered," he says quietly. Eli looks up, startled by the softness in Drew's voice. Drew continues, words falling unevenly. "Nobody ever stopped me. At home, at school, someone always shut it down before anything happened, so I just didn't think it mattered." His father's eyes sting with tears. Corinne stiffens, unable to speak. Judge Judy paces the thought. "So you believed you were untouchable?" He nods barely. "Yes." "And that gave you license to hurt other people?" Another pause, then reluctantly, "Yes." The gallery murmurs, but this time the sound feels different, not outrage, not shock, but witnessing the slow collapse of a persona built on sand. Judge Judy steps closer. Her tone softens just enough to land deeper. "Arrogance isn't strength, Mr. Mathers. It's fear wearing a loud jacket." Drew's eyes flick up, meeting hers for the first time without defiant. "See, I know." Corinne whispers sharply. Drew, stop talking. But Drew shakes his head. "No, I'm done pretending." His father covers his mouth, emotion rippling through him like an overdue confession. Judge Judy nods once, acknowledging the shift. "Good, now we're getting somewhere." But before she can continue questioning, the bailiff clears his throat, a low, rumbling signal that draws every eye. He holds the folder the visitor brought. "Your Honor, you'll want to see this." Drew's stomach drops. "What is that? What's in it?" Judge Judy takes the folder and begins to open it. The moment the first page becomes visible, Drew jolts upright, panic flooding his face. Because whatever evidence is inside, it wasn't supposed to exist. Judge Judy lifts the folder slowly, the thin paper inside rustling like a warning. Drew's pulse is visible in his neck now, fast, panicked, uncontained. Everyone in the courtroom knows one thing instantly. This isn't ordinary evidence. Judge Judy slides out a sealed envelope, its edges creased as though it's been handled many times before someone finally dared to send it. The front is stamped in red. Urgent, submitted anonymously. Karen speaks first, voice sharp with desperation. Anonymous, then it's unreliable, probably fabricated. Judge Judy doesn't even look at her. Sit down, ma'am. If it's fabricated, we'll know. The bailiff hands her a letter opener, and even that small metallic glint feels significant. She breaks the seal. The room leans forward with her. Inside is a set of printed screenshots, dozens of them, each time stamped, each more unsettling than the last. Conversations in a messaging app, threads of text between Drew and older teens. Icons blurred, usernames cryptic, but the content unmistakably real. Judge Judy reads one aloud. Do it today, make him scared enough to stay home. Eli's mother covers her mouth. Drew's stomach drops. That's not, those weren't, I didn't mean any of that. Judge Judy continues. Record it this time. We need proof you're not chickening out. Her eyes rise, pinning Drew where he sits. You were receiving instructions. Karen practically launches out of her chair. He was manipulated. He didn't know what those boys were asking. Judge Judy's voice slices through her panic. Ma'am, if you speak out of turn again, I'll have you removed. Karen collapses back into her seat, shaking. Drew grips the edge of the table, knuckles white. His bravado is gone, its fear now pure, unfiltered fear. I didn't know they would actually do anything. They said if I didn't, they'd come after me next. I didn't think it would go this far. For a moment, silence claims the room, heavy, suffocating, revealing. Judge Judy studies the printouts again, her jaw tightening. These messages, this isn't typical teenage conflict. This is organized intimidation. She sets the stack down with deliberate weight. And the person who sent this clearly knew you weren't acting alone. Drew's father shakes his head slowly, whispering something to himself. Regret, shock, maybe a plea for a chance to undo all of this. But Judge Judy isn't finished. She picks up a final page in the envelope, one that looks different, longer, more detailed, a written statement. Her eyes scan the signature at the bottom. Her expression changes. This, she says quietly, was written by someone very close to the victim. Eli stiffens. Drew's breath stops. Karen whispers, who would send? Judge Judy sets the page down, folding her hands. The anonymous source, she says, voice level and unwavering, is someone who's been watching Drew for months. And as she prepares to name them, the room seems to tilt. Because the truth about who sent this envelope will reshape everything that comes next. The courtroom door opens again, this time not with hesitation but with purpose. Footsteps echo, steady and controlled, cutting through the thick silence like a blade. Eli's head lifts before anyone else's, because he already knows who it is. Marco Torres strides in, taller, older, carrying a presence that fills the room before he even speaks. Early 20s, calm but fierce under the surface, he moves with a protective instinct sharpened by years of watching his little brother struggle. In his hand is a slim black folder, not bulky, but heavy with intent. Eli watches him with wide eyes, part relief, part dread. Drew watches him with something else entirely. Recognition, fear, maybe guilt. Judge Judy gestures to the witness stand. Mr. Torres, please take your seat. Marco sits, posture straight, chin level, not aggressive, not timid, just grounded, the kind of grounded that comes from surviving something long enough to decide you won't let it happen again. Judge Judy nods. State your involvement. Marco looks directly at her. I'm the one who sent the envelope. A ripple rolls across the gallery. Karen practically jumps to her feet. This is outrageous. Your Honor, this man is stalking our family. Sit, Judge Judy says without raising her volume. yet somehow silencing the entire room. Marco waits until Corinne is quiet, then continues. I collected everything, screenshots, videos, timestamps, not because I wanted revenge, but because I knew nobody was listening to my brother. Eli's breath catches, his eyes shine. Marco opens the black folder and slides out image after image. Digital harassment threads, group messages, clips showing Drew bragging, organizing, taunting. These weren't accidents, he says. They were patterns. Patterns ignored until someone got hurt. Drew blurts out, "You were spying on me." Marco meets his gaze. "I was protecting him because you wouldn't stop." Drew's jaw trembles, not in defiance but in the unfamiliar sting of consequence. Judge Judy examines a page. Her eyebrows lift. "These older boys messaging you, they encouraged violence." Marco nods. "Yes, and Drew played along to impress them." The room shifts, emotionally, ethically, morally. This is no longer a simple bullying incident. This is layered, knotted, dangerous. Corinne points a shaking finger. "You set my son up." Marco's voice stays level. "Your son set the trap. I just documented the damage." The honesty lands with the weight of truth uncoded. Judge Judy places her hands together. "Mr. Torres, is there anything more we need to see?" Marco hesitates, a rare falter in his steady demeanor. "There is one more thing," he says quietly. The room stills completely. Judge Judy tilts her head. "And why didn't you include it with the others?" Marco glances at Eli, then at Drew. His jaw tightens. "Because it changes everything," he says, "and I wasn't sure if I should be the one to reveal it." Drew's pulse spikes visibly beneath his skin. Marco reaches inside his jacket and pulls out a final document, one sealed, older, and marked in red. And the moment Drew sees it, his face drains of all color. Judge Judy breaks the seal on Marco's final document, unfolding it slowly like a detonator wire. The room leans forward, suspended between breath and silence. Drew grips the table, knuckles blanched, as though bracing for an impact only he knows is coming. The page reveals a screenshot, one longer than the others, captured from a late-night message thread lit by the cold blue glow of a phone screen. The timestamp alone makes Drew's face twist. 2:14 a.m., a restless hour. A reckless hour. The hour when bad decisions stop pretending to be jokes. Judge Judy reads aloud. "Make him scared for real. We want him crying at school tomorrow." A collective inhale sweeps the courtroom. Eli's mother squeezes her son's shoulder. Drew looks like someone punched the air out of him. Marco raises his chin. This message was from one of the older boys, the ones Drew was trying to impress. "And your brother?" Judge Judy asks, eyes narrowing. Marco nods. The message was telling Drew to physically jump Eli the next morning, not tease, not threaten, attack. Drew shakes his head violently. No, I wasn't going to. I didn't even answer that one." Marco slides another screenshot into view. A reply. From Drew's account. One word. Bet. Eli's breath escapes in a sharp, wounded sound. Drew folds in on himself. Corinne erupts, voice shrill with panic. "He didn't mean it, that's slang. It doesn't mean he agreed." Judge Judy's stare snaps to her. "It means affirmation, and your son knew exactly what it meant." Corinne sinks back, shaking. Judge Judy turns to Drew. "Were you planning to harm this boy?" "No," Drew shouts, voice breaking. I swear I wasn't. It was just, they said I had to look tough, okay? I just wanted them off my back." His father bows his head, devastated. Judge Judy's gaze sharpens. "And did you ever consider telling an adult you were being pressured?" Drew hesitates, which is answer enough. Ms. Carter wipes tears from her eyes at the teacher's bench. "I tried asking him. I knew something was wrong." The courtroom energy shifts, no longer simply anger at Drew, but a haunting sense that the web around him was bigger, deeper, darker than anyone realized. Judge Judy lifts the final page in the packet. There's more, something that makes this message even more alarming. Marcos jotenses, Eli stiffens. Drew whispers, "Please don't." Judge Judy reads from the page. "If you don't do it by morning, we'll handle it ourselves, and next time it'll be you." A shudder moves through the gallery like a cold front. Drew looks sick. "I was scared, okay? I didn't know what to do." Judge Judy studies him, not with softness but with a deeper, probing clarity. "This," she says, tapping the page, "isn't teenage mischief. This is coercion intertwined with cruelty." She lowers the paper. "And we are nowhere near finished." The courtroom door opens again, quietly but with purpose. A new arrival steps in, holding a report that makes Judge Judy's eyes widen, because it reveals the true source of those late-night GHT messages, and it isn't who anyone expected. The man who entered stands at the center aisle now, holding a thin report like it's a verdict of its own. Judge Judy scans the first page. Her expression shifts, controlled but sharp. And Drew goes utterly still, as if bracing for an impact he knows is unavoidable. The man introduces himself, Daniel Ruiz, school counselor. He hands the report to the bailiff, who passes it to Judge Judy. She reads silently for a moment, eyes narrowing at something buried mid-page. "Mr. Mathers," she says finally, "this report states you were referred for intervention 6 months ago, but you never attended a single session." She looks at Drew's mother first. "Why?" Corinne sputters, "Because he didn't need counseling. The school was exaggerating." Daniel cuts in gently. "Ma'am, it wasn't exaggeration. We had concerns he was being coerced by an older group, concerns we tried to address." The word coerced hits the courtroom like a dropped brick. Judge Judy turns sharply back to Drew. "You've been receiving messages from these older boys for months, haven't you? Not just recently." Drew's eyes flicker with panic. He looks at his father, then at his hands, then at Eli, almost as if searching for someone who can give him permission to fall apart. I didn't want to say anything," he whispers. "Why?" Judge Judy asks. And this time the dam breaks. "Because they said if I didn't do what they wanted, they'd jump me behind the gym. They'd film it, post it." His voice cracks. "They told me if I even thought about telling someone, they'd go after my sister." Gasps ripple through the room. Corinne covers her mouth, horrified. His father's face crumbles as if something heavy inside him finally snaps in half. Judge Judy steps closer, voice softer but steady. "Then why take it out on Eli?" Tears sting Drew's eyes, tears he fights but can't fully suppress. "Because they picked him. They said he was the initiation target, and if I didn't do it, they'd come after me instead." The gallery shifts, anger replaced by something heavier, more complex. The cruelty Drew inflicted doesn't disappear, but its roots gain a painful new shape. Ms. Carter whispers, "I knew something was wrong, I knew it." Eli watches Drew, expression layered, hurt, confusion, the faintest flicker of empathy he doesn't want but feels anyway. Judge Judy asks quietly, "Why didn't you tell your parents?" Drew shakes his head. "They wouldn't listen. They never do. Everything was always about protecting the image, not me." Corinne breaks into sobs. His father lays a shaking hand on his shoulder for the first time all day. The courtroom holds the moment, suspended in a mixture of grief, anger, and truth finally exposed. Judge Judy exhales slowly. "Mr. Mathers, this confession changes some things, but it does not erase the harm you caused." Drew nods, tears falling now. "I know." Judge Judy lifts the counselor's report. "There's something in here," she says, tapping the final page, "that none of you seem aware of." And as she prepares to read it, the room braces. Because what's written there will unravel the next truth and set off the third twist. Judge Judy closes the counselor's report with a soft thud, a sound that lands heavier than any gavel strike so far. And suddenly, every pair of eyes in the courtroom turns toward Drew and the parents who failed him. Judge Judy clasps her hands, leaning slightly forward. "This final page," she begins, voice calm but edged in steel, "is a formal notation from the school counselor. It states that ongoing intervention was strongly recommended because both Mr. Mathers and other students were at risk." Karen stiffens. Risk from who? Judge Judy lifts one brow. "From your son, ma'am, and from those influencing him." The words hit like a blunt force impact. Drew flinches. His father's shoulders wilt. Karen shakes her head, gripping the table as though it's the only thing keeping her upright. "This is not my son," she whispers. "This isn't him." Judge Judy responds softly but firmly. "This is him, and it's also the version of him you refuse to see." A quiet ache spreads through the courtroom, the kind that softens voices and sharpens truths. Ms. Carter speaks from the witness chair, voice trembling. "I tried to help him, Mrs. Mathers. I really did. He was hurting kids and he was hurting himself, but you made it impossible for the school to act." Karen's eyes burn with tears, anger and regret tangled into something jagged. "I was protecting my child." "No," Judge Judy says gently. "You were protecting his image, and that decision cost multiple children their safety, including your own." Drew's father covers his face, shoulders shaking. This is the moment the facade finally cracks, years of excuses collapsing under the weight of truth. Eli watches quietly, empathy flickering in his expression despite everything Drew did. Pain recognizes pain. Judge Judy turns to Eli. "Mr. Torres, would you like to say anything at this point?" Eli hesitates. His voice is soft, fragile. I just wanted to stop all of it. I don't want him hurt. I just want him to stop hurting people." That lands like a moral hammer, simple, honest, devastating. Drew bows his head. For the first time, he looks like the age he actually is. A teenager stranded between guilt and fear, between who he was and who he's been forced to be. "I'm sorry," he whispers, not loud, not performative, real. The courtroom absorbs it with a mix of silence, doubt, and reluctant recognition. No one applauds. No one reacts. Some truths are too heavy to cheer for. Judge Judy finally speaks. "Apologies matter, but consequences matter more, and today we are addressing both." Corinne wipes her eyes. What happens now?" Judge Judy folds her hands, posture resolute. "Now we discuss accountability, restitution, rebuilding, and the formal steps I will be taking with the school board." The tension returns, sharp and electric. Drew looks up, trembling. Is this going to get the police involved?" Judge Judy does not answer immediately. She simply studies him, weighing him. Then she says, "Before I rule, there is one last matter this court must address." And the shift in her tone tells everyone. Whatever comes next will change the entire trajectory of the case. The courtroom feels different now, quieter, heavier, but no longer chaotic. It's the silence that follows a storm, where debris is still settling, and everyone finally sees the damage clearly. Judge Judy rises slightly in her chair, signaling a shift from exposure to consequence. She begins with Eli, her tone warm but steady. "Young man, you showed courage today, more than most adults do in a lifetime." Eli nods, eyes low, shoulders loosening for the first time since the hearing began. A small exhale escapes him, relief, fear, and something like release. Judge Judy then turns to Drew, who sits hunched forward, fingers interlaced so tightly they tremble. "Mr. Mathers, what happens next is not about punishment alone. It's about repairing what you broke." Drew nods weakly. "Yes, Your Honor." But Judge Judy isn't addressing him yet. She looks to both families. This case didn't fail because one boy made a mistake. It failed because adults failed to guide him. Teachers were silenced. Counselors were ignored. Parents, out of fear, pride, or stubbornness, closed the door on truth. Corinne winces, tears streaking her cheeks. Drew's father bows his head. And now, Judge Judy continues, we begin the process of repairing. She lays out her plan with precision. First, a restorative justice program, professionally supervised. Drew will meet with Eli in controlled sessions to hear, understand, and acknowledge the harm he caused. Eli's mother nods through tears. Second, Drew will enter mandatory therapy focused on coercion, aggression patterns, and emotional regulation. Not optional, not symbolic, required. Drew's father places a hand on his son's back, a gesture of support that feels overdue but sincere. Third, a school board review will be opened into the suppression of disciplinary reports. Corinne stiffens. Am I included in that review? Judge Judy meets her eyes kind but unwavering. Yes, ma'am, you are. Corinne breaks, head dropping into her hands as quiet sobs escape her. The armor she wore all these years dissolves into something more fragile, something real. Ms. Carter watches her with a mix of empathy and exhaustion. The teacher's pain is visible, but so is her relief. Thank you, Your Honor. Judge Judy nods once, acknowledging the weight of that gratitude. Fourth, a formal report will be issued regarding the older boys who manipulated Drew, referred directly to authorities and the school district. Drew flinches. Will they come after me for talking? Judge Judy's voice softens. You won't be alone in this anymore. The adults in this room will make sure of that. For the first time, Drew looks at Eli, not with fear, not with arrogance, but with something approaching understanding, maybe even remorse. He whispers, I'm sorry, for real this time. Eli hesitates, then nods, small but genuine. It isn't forgiveness. Not yet. But it's a beginning. Judge Judy breathes in, preparing her next words. But, she says, voice dropping into a deeper register, there is still one final matter this court must address before I deliver my ruling. And instantly, the room senses it. Something unresolved is about to surface. Judge Judy rises, just enough that the shift in height feels like a tremor under everyone's feet. The light overhead seems to sharpen on her, carving her silhouette into something almost symbolic. And when she speaks, the room stops breathing. She steps around the bench, moving into the open space where the air feels thick with consequence. Her voice is low at first, a controlled burn. We have spoken, she says, about what Drew did, about who pushed him, about who protected him. But we have not yet spoken about the one thing that allowed all of this to thrive. The room leans in. Silence. The word hits with the force of a verdict. Judge Judy's eyes move from Eli's family, to Ms. Carter, to the school counselor, and finally to Corinne and Drew. Silence is not neutral, she continues. It is participation dressed as avoidance. Corinne's tears intensify. Drew's father looks down, his hands shaking on his knees. Judge Judy paces slowly, every step deliberate, every phrase heavier than the last. When the school tried to intervene, silence. When teachers asked for support, silence. When this young man, she gestures to Eli, was pushed, humiliated, threatened, silence. And when a teenage boy was being coerced into violence by older students he feared. She turns to Drew, silence from the one place he needed truth most, home. Drew flinches, his mother sobs openly now. Judge Judy's voice doesn't rise, but her presence expands, filling every corner of the courtroom. This hearing stopped being about bullying a long time ago. It became a mirror, a painful one for everyone involved. She pauses, letting the weight settle. To the school, you failed to act boldly enough. To the adults who were intimidated, You deserved support you didn't receive. To the parents who hid the truth, pride became your blindfold. To the older teens who manipulated this boy, consequences are already being set in motion. Then she softens, subtly, powerfully. And to Eli and Drew, her gaze shifts between them. You stand on opposite ends of the same experience. One harmed, one harming, but both affected by the failures of the very people who were supposed to guide you. Eli's eyes glisten. Drew swallows, unable to hold back tears he keeps wiping away with the back of his hand. Judge Judy continues. Today isn't about vengeance. It's about clarity. And clarity demands consequence, accountability, and, where possible, restoration. For a moment, the room is emotionally raw, stripped bare of defenses. Judge Judy returns to the bench, gathering her papers slowly, methodically. Karen whispers, trembling, "Your Honor, is there still hope for him?" Judge Judy doesn't look up immediately. When she does, her voice is quiet, almost gentle. There is always hope, but hope is meaningless without change. She lifts the gavel. Now, she says, poised at the precipice of final judgment, this court will deliver its ruling. And with a single breath from the gallery, the entire room freezes, waiting for the impact that will define everything that comes next. The gavel hovers above the bench, motionless. The courtroom is silent, utterly, breathlessly silent. Judge Judy looks at Drew, then at Eli, then at the parents, and the weight of everything said hangs thick in the air. She lowers the gavel just an inch, not striking, only settling into her grip. This ruling, she begins, is not about punishing a villain. It is about rehabilitating a child and protecting another. Karen's breath catches. Drew sits up straighter, though his hands still tremble. Eli grips the edge of his seat, unsure of what justice will look like or feel like or cost. Judge Judy continues, her voice steady and balanced like the beam of a scale. Let's begin with the tangible restitution. Mr. Mathers will pay for damages associated with Eli's counseling, school support services, and any costs related to the harassment he experienced. Karen nods rapidly, sobbing. We'll pay. Whatever we need to do, we'll pay. Judge Judy lifts one hand for silence. Second, Mr. Mathers will enroll in a comprehensive behavioral intervention program, aggression management, coercion awareness, and empathy development. You will attend every session. You will complete every assignment, and your progress will be monitored. Drew swallows hard. Yes, Your Honor. Third, she says, rotating her attention to Eli, the Torres family will receive ongoing support from the school district and will be exempt from contact with Mr. Mathers in any unsupervised environment. Eli's mother presses her hand over her heart. And fourth, Judge Judy continues, her tone sharpening, the school board will be notified of the suppressed disciplinary reports, the failed interventions, and the coercion ring linked to the older teens. The proper authorities will receive a full packet of documentation. Karen's face falls, but this time she doesn't interrupt. She doesn't argue. She absorbs it, defeated but listening. Drew looks at her, eyes rimmed red. Mom, stop, please, it's done. She touches his cheek, tears streaming. For the first time, it's not protection she tries to give, it's comfort. Judge Judy exhales, slow, deliberate. And now, she says, the part of this ruling that no court can enforce. The gallery leans in. She looks at Drew, really looks at him. Son, you have a chance that many people never get. You get to change. You get to rewrite WH. Oh, you are. Today doesn't define you unless you let it. Drew's eyes brim with tears. I won't waste it, I swear. And Eli, Judge Judy says, turning to him with equal sincerity, you are not weak because you endured. You are strong because you stood up. What happened to you matters, but what happens next matters even more. Eli nods, wiping his eyes. Judge Judy stands, lifting the gavel one final time. This court finds in favor of the plaintiff. Restitution is ordered. Mandatory programs are to begin immediately, and all related evidence will be forwarded to the appropriate authorities. The gavel strikes. A clean, resonant note, like the ending of a long-held chord finally releasing. As the families gather their things, Eli and Drew exchange a small, tentative nod. Not forgiveness, not friendship, but understanding,